Now let's make it a little bit more interesting. We have a data set which is already loaded into Elasticsearch, and it is stored in a type called year 2012. Okay, and it has records of all the games which were launched in 2012. And there are various publishers who launched those games. Now for this exercise, let's say you are only interested in all the games published by only two publishers, Activision and Capcom. Okay, and so we will create a query and send it to Elasticsearch. Then Elasticsearch will return the results, and we will store that result into a PIG relation and finally store it into a SDFS file. Let's see how this is done. So let's open the terminal. Okay, under PIG directory, we'll go to example number 2, and there you will see a file called es2pig.pig. This is another PIG script. So let's open it. As you know by now that we need to use the jar file in order to connect Elasticsearch and PIG. Okay, so the first statement is including the jar file into our program. Okay, now here you will see some of the lines having two hyphens at the beginning. So this is the way to comment statements in PIG scripts. Okay, and we don't want these statements to be executed. Now some of the statements I have just added them there so you can use them and try. They will behave a little bit different. Okay, so this is for your reference. So the first statement, for example, will only load data for one publisher. Okay, but we want to load data for two publishers, so we will use the second statement, and here we will use the load function from PIG, and it's connecting to games index and type year 2012, and it is using the ES storage function from this jar file. And when we connect to Elasticsearch, and you know that we can query Elasticsearch, right? So this is what we are doing in this statement. We are sending a query to Elasticsearch by using a property called es.query, and then we are specifying our DSL query. All right. So basically, in this query, it's a bool type, and we want it to return all the records for publisher Activision and publisher Capcom. Okay, and once we have all those records returned, they will be stored into a PIG relation called ES. Now next you will see some other commented lines. This is to check your data before you can save it. Okay, so what you can do as an exercise, you can comment the last statement, which is store, so that your record will not be stored into SDFS, but you want to see your results on the command prompt itself, and you can do it by uncommenting this and this line. Okay, so the first line is loading only 5 records, okay, into X, and the second line is kind of a printing value stored in X on your screen. Okay, this is kind of a sampling and validating the data before you finally load it into the files, and it is very useful if you are working on very large data sets. All right, so you can play with it. For now, we will load the data from ES into a file on SDFS, and this file will be stored on location dev final udemy es2pig/out. Okay, and we will use pig storage function. All right, so this is very simple script, so let's run it. And as you remember, in last exercise we had used hyphen use as catalog because we were connecting Hive with pig also, but in this case there is no Hive, so we don't need to use that variable, and we can simply run our pig script like this. It may take a while, so let me pause the video here. All right, looks like our program finished. So let's check if the file is created. Okay, and we need to check it in Hadoop. Let's find the file. So this was the path for the file, and it would start with something called part. Okay, let's see if we have this file. Let's put a less. All right, so as you can see, we got the records saved into the file. So as we only wanted to look at the records from two publishers, Activision and Capcom, that's what we got in this file. Look at this last column, which is sales. Look at the way it is saved into the file. You remember, because this is a structure. Okay, we club together all the fields into one structure, and that's why it is saved like this. Okay, so we finished this exercise. We created a data pipeline from Elasticsearch to PIG, and we sent a query from PIG to Elasticsearch. We pulled the results and we saved those results into a SDFS file. So now you can create a data pipeline either ways, from Elasticsearch to PIG or from PIG to Elasticsearch. And you can also connect Hive or save the results into SDFS.